वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य सुतारिणे।
Hare Krishna. Manoram Prabhu, please share the verses today and
Yes.
we will continue from there. So, yesterday we began the third canto, and the third canto begins with the conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami. And here, in particular, the reference of conversation that Mahatma Vidur is being discussed. Make the font bigger, I can't see it. The font is very small. Okay. We did the fourth verse. Fourth verse was done. Already it was done. So now Sudha Goswami speaks. Saevam Rishi Varyayam Prishto Rajna Parikshita Pratyaha Tam Subhahuve Pratitama Shruyatamiti. Sri Sudha Goswami said, the great sage Sukadeva Goswami was highly experienced and was pleased with the king. Thus, being questioned by the king, he said to him, please hear the topics attentively. Shri Shuka Uvacha Yadatu Rajasva Sutan Asadhaun Ushnana Dharmena Vinashta Drishtihi Bhraturya Visthaya Sutan Vibhadun Praveshya Laksh Bhavane Dadara. Sud Goswami said, King Dhritarashtra became blind under the influence of impious desires to nourish his dishonest sons. And thus he set fire to the lacquer house to burn his fatherless nephew, the Pandavas. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth, but his blindness in committing impious activities to support his dishonest sons was a greater blindness than his physical lack of eyesight. The physical lack of sight does not bar one from spiritual progress. Very important. It is not the ability based on one's bodily strength. So one may not be having the bodily support, but still that is not an impediment. Prabhupada says here, the physical lack of sight does not bar one from spiritual progress. But when one is blind spiritually, even though physically fit, that blindness is dangerously detrimental to the progressive path of human life. Yada sabhayam kuru deva devya keshabhi keshabhimarsham sutakarma garhyam navarayama shripa snusaya. Can't see the last line. Wait. Swasarer harayanta kucha kunkumani. The king did not forbid his son. Keep it stable, Prabhu. It is moving up and down. The king did not forbid his son Dushashan's abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi, the wife of godly King Yudhishthir, even though her tears washed the red dust. Can't see from the left side, it is not visible. Can you not maintain the screen? On her, even though her tears washed the red dust on her breast. So this principle is very important. That is why Krishna allowed the first verse of Bhagavad Gita to be spoken by Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra's first verse shows obviously his attachment. And with the attachment, it shows that how he was completely, his spiritual vision was covered. He was blind. But attachment also makes us deaf. Sanjay, in fact, told him, you die. And there is no possibility for your sons, impious sons, to win over the virtuous Pandavas. But because of his attachment, he did not accept the advice of even Sanjay. He never accepted the advice of Mahatma Vidur, and he even did not accept the advice of Sanjay. Why? Because that is the nature of material attachment. Very dangerous. If we have material attachment to anyone in this world, that material attachment will push us to be blind and also be deaf, as is the case of Dhritarashtra. Yute tu adharmena jatasya sadhava. Again, it is moving. Keep it stationary, na? Don't move the cursor. Satyavalambhasya vanam gatasya nayachato dhuta samena dayam tamojushno yad agyat shatraha. So the entire episodes which happened with the Pandavas, the plotting and the mischief that the Kauravas did with the Pandavas is being summarized here. Yudhishthir, who was born without any enemy. That is why in the last it is said Ajat Shatraha. Ajata. Jata means to take birth. And Ajata means one who does not take birth. So who does not take birth? Who is his enemy? Yudhishthir, because he was so religious and he was always on the side of religion. So Yudhishthir, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling. But because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. Wait. Maharaj Yudhishthir was the rightful heir of his father's kingdom. But just to favor his own sons, headed by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, Maharaj Yudhishthir's uncle, adopted various unfair means to cheat his nephews of their rightful share of the kingdom. At last, the Pandavas, each of the five brothers, but that was also refused by the usurpers. The incident led to the war of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra, therefore, was induced by the Kurus and not the Pandavas. As Kshatriyas, the proper livelihood of the Pandavas was only to rule and not to accept any other occupation. A Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstances. Very important. Wait. Where are you running? See the principle. Prabhupada is saying here that a real Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstances. That means he will not work under someone as subordinate. He will be the boss. So only Shudra, it is only the Shudra who is there to support the other Varnas. And you know what is the proportion? What is the proportion of Shudras as compared to Kshatriyas, and Kshatriyas as compared to Vaishyas, and as compared to Brahmanas? Long back I had heard and read about it. For every 10 Kshatriya, one Brahmana is there. Like that. And for Shudra, there are so many thousands of Shudra to support even one Vaishya. So the population of Shudra is invariably the maximum. Okay, go down. Let us see the next verse. Yada chapat prahita sabdhyam jagat gururyani jagada krishna natani pumsam amritayani rajormene krishna punya lesha. Sorry, rajormene. 1 minute, slow down. rajormene shat punya Shut up. Okay, show the translation. Lord Krishna was sent by Arjuna into the assembly as the spiritual master of the whole world. And although his words were heard by some, like Bhishma, as pure nectar, it was not for the others who were completely bereft of the last farthing of the past pious works. The king Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana did not take the words of Lord Krishna very seriously. Someone read the purport. Manoram Prabhu, you read. I can't see it clearly.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Lord Krishna, who is the spiritual master of the entire universe, accepted the duty of a messenger and, deputed by Arjuna, went to the assembly of King Dhritarashtra on a peace mission. Krishna is everyone's Lord, yet because he was the transcendental friend of Arjuna, he gladly accepted the role of messenger, exactly like an ordinary friend. That is the beauty of the Lord's behavior with his pure devotees. He reached the assembly and spoke about peace, and the message was relished by Bhishma and other great leaders because it was spoken by the Lord himself. But due to the exertion, Hare Krishna, Babaji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, continue. Okay, I'll put myself on mute. 1 second.
But due to the exertion of the pious results of their past deeds, Duryodhana or his father Dhritarashtra did not take the message very seriously. That is the way of persons who have no credit of pious deeds. By past pious deeds, one may become the king of a country, but because the results of the pious acts of Duryodhana and company were dwindling, it became evident from their actions that they were sure to lose the kingdom to the Pandavas. The message of Godhead is always like nectar to the devotees, but it is just the opposite to the non-devotees. Sugar candy is always sweet to a healthy man, but it tastes very bitter to persons suffering from jaundice. Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, I will have to, sign off. You all please continue. Okay. And from tomorrow we will discuss from this verse onwards. Hare Krishna. You can continue.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Okay, dear devotees, so kindly direct how to proceed. Should we read again the verses what has been spoken? नया पढ़ लेंगे तो भी I think there won't be any much discussion. So as you direct, dear devotees, Dayashil Prabhuji, Ravindra Madhusudana Prabhuji, Madan Sarup Prabhuji is also here. So as you direct, how we shall proceed.
कृष्णा
Hare Krishna.
प्रभु जी इसको दोबारा पढ़ लेते हैं बस क्या जो जितना
Yes.
पढ़े
I think यही better होगा Prabhuji.
हाँ
Okay, so any devotee can kindly read it. Maybe we can take liberty from hearing from Madan Sarup Prabhuji. Prabhuji, if you kindly, start with
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please.
So we start from text 5.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Do we have to read the verse or the translation only?
I think translation and purport, Prabhuji, we can read. Yeah.
Okay. So text number 5, translation. Sri Sud Goswami said, the great Sri Sukdev Goswami was highly experienced and was pleased with the king. Thus, being questioned by the king, he said to him, please hear the topics attentively. There is no purport in this text.
Yeah, Prabhuji, if you may continue next also, Prabhuji, and then other devotees. can
Okay.
do.
Okay. Text number 6, translation. Sri Sukdev Goswami said, King Dhritarashtra became blind under the influence of impious desires to nourish his dishonest sons, and thus he set fire to the lacquer house to burn his fatherless nephews, the Pandavas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth, but his blindness in committing impious activities to support his dishonest sons was a greater blindness than his physical lack of eyesight. The physical lack of sight doesn't bar one from spiritual progress. But when one is blind spiritually, even though physically fit, that blindness is dangerously detrimental to the progressive path of human life. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes. Okay, so other devotees can continue. Next verses. I think
Hare Krishna
Pradeep-
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Seventh verse translation. The king did not forbidden his sons, Dusasana, abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi, the wife of godly king Yudhishthira. Even though her tears washed the red dust on her breast. Shall I read this eighth?
Yes, Prabhuji, you can continue. Yeah.
Text 8, translation. Yudhishthira, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling. But because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. Purport by his divine grace, Prabhupada. Maharaj Yudhishthira was the rightful heir to his father's kingdom, but just to favor his own sons, headed by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, Maharaj Yudhishthir, uncle, adopted various unfair means to cheat his nephew of the rightful share of the kingdom. At last, the Pandavas demanded only 5 villages, one for each of the 5 brothers, but that was also refused by the usurpers. This incident led to the war of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra, therefore, was induced by the Kurus, not the Pandavas. As, as Kshatriyas, the proper livelihood of the Pandavas was only to rule, not to accept any other occupation. A Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstance. Harikrishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yeah, any other devotee can very quickly read verse number 9. Till 9, actually, you have read today. Maybe if contribution from any Matajis.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, please, Mataji.
Text 9. Lord Krishna was sent by Arjuna into the assembly as the spiritual master of the whole world, and although his words were heard by some like Bhishma as pure nectar, it was not for the others who were completely bereft of the last hardening of the past pious work. The king, Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana, did not take the words of Lord Krishna very seriously. Purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna, who is the spiritual master of the entire universe, accepted the duty of a messenger and deputed by Arjuna went to the assembly of King Dhritarashtra on a peace mission. Krishna is everyone's lord, yet because he was the transcendental friend of Arjuna, he gladly accepted the role of messenger, exactly like an ordinary friend. That is the beauty of the Lord's behavior with his pure devotees. He reached the assembly and spoke about peace, and the message was reached the assembly and spoke about peace. And the message was released by Bhishma and other great leaders because it was spoken by the Lord himself. But due to the exhaustion of pious results of their past deeds, Duryodhana or his father Dhritarashtra did not take the message very seriously. That is the way of persons who have no credit of pious deeds. By past pious deeds, one may become the king of a country. But because the result of the pious acts of Duryodhana and company were dwindling, it became evident from their actions that they were sure to lose the kingdom to the Pandavas. The message of Godhead is always like nectar to the devotees, but it is just the opposite to the non devotees. Sugar candy is always sweet to a healthy man, but it tastes very bitter to the person suffering from jaundice. Hare Krishna.
Jai Ho, thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, so maybe any quick, maybe some quick message, 2-3 points can be shared. So yes, I think any devotee can, maybe again we'll take liberty hearing from Madan Sarup Prabhuji, and Ravindra Madhusudan Prabhuji will conclude with 1 or 2 sentences. Yeah. Prabhuji, any message from these verses?
So here the conversation is between the Goswami and the congregation headed by Sonak Rishi, and they are saying that how Vidura was summoned by the Dhritarashtra, and the apart from 6 onward, this all said. The important thing is that Prabhupada said the physical sight doesn't bar, doesn't stop from the progress in the spiritual life. And spiritual blindness is far more damaging to the uh, uh, bhakti than the physical limitations. I have read somewhere that Bilwa Mangal Thakur, he was so upset that, he didn't want his eyes to see anything which can come in the way of his bhakti, and he plucked both the eyes, became blind. And we all know how he progressed in the bhakti, though he was blind thereafter. And another point that is coming is that irrespective of the adversity, Yudhishthira practiced truthfulness. He knew that he's being cheated unfavorably or unrightly. Still, he went to the he kept his words and went for Vanvas. And the ninth one, here it is given that how God acts for his devotees. He is ready to play any role for the sake of his pure devotees. I mean, he could go as a messenger, he could act as a charioteer. And another important thing is that why adversities come in the life of the people, as the pious results start deteriorating or they start finishing, then the adversities comes in their life. And here is the example of Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra. They lost everybody could see that, they would lose their kingdom because of finishing the quota of their pious activities. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai Ho, thank you so much, Prabhuji, and specifically adding the insight from Billa Mangal Thakur. So I think Prabhuji told sometimes, but I was completely blind about again, So you have reminded. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and very, useful messages that you have given. Physical blindness does not matter, but for me at least, I think I am, yes, totally blind, Prabhuji. Physically होने से भी spiritual blindness सबसे बड़ा blindness है, and that is what I think it has captured me totally. So yes, Ravindra Madhusudan Prabhuji, maybe we'll hear from others now, but it is 9 past 15 going to be. So Ravindra Madhusudan Prabhuji, you can give one or two messages and then we can conclude.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Yes,
तो
Prabhuji.
इसमें लास्ट में बता रहे हैं the message of Godhead is always like the nectar to the devotees, but it is just the opposite to the non-devotees. हमारे लिए जो इंस्ट्रक्शन है भगवान का थ्रू परंपरा, ये नेक्टर है। अब इसको हम मानते हैं तो वी आर डिवोटी, इफ आर नॉट ओबेइंग दिस देन वी आर जस्ट लाइक ए नॉन डिवोटी। एंड इसलिए कि जैसे कि यहाँ पे सफरिंग हुए हैं, युद्ध होने का मेन कारण था कि वो उनका जितना पायस एक्टिविटी सारा कंप्लीट हो चुका था, खत्म हो चुका था। इस वजह से जो भगवान भी बोल रहे थे वो भी नहीं सुन रहे थे। दैट मीन्स फॉर इंस्ट्रक्शन फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस to accept the message or instruction coming from Supreme Lord through Parampara. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol, Jai Ho. Thank you so much, Ravindra Madhusudan Prabhuji. Very concise, practical message Prabhuji has given, that only our duty we need to hear and practice the messages. So I think, that is the key of today's discussion. So maybe dear devotees, I think there will be much more discussion by Prabhuji. Maybe tomorrow I will discuss. So with all of your permission, we will conclude today's session here. So Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada की जय, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, उपस्थित समस्त भक्तवृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।